The whole thing feels weird. I said yesterday, I just hope that Dave Gettleman just retires with dignity and moves on and just doesn't make a big deal out of it, and they should make a big deal out of it. There's no reason to fire a guy that's been a part of your organization for as long as Dave had been a part of this organization. Yeah, the last 4 years didn't go well, and his top 2 draft picks really haven't turned out to be game changers for the Giants, so just let him move on. I mean, I don't understand why everybody has to have somebody fired or somebody made example of. I mean, at the end of the day, he did the right thing. He's 7 years old. He battled cancer. He made some bad picks. He made some good picks, made some bad free agent signings. The record speaks for itself, and you move on. And now it's up to the Giants to decide who's going to be the leader of their franchise and whether or not they're going to give that guy the ability not only to pick the players, but also to pick the coach.
Well, I would hope so. I mean, that has to be the route that they're going. They can't tell this guy, whoever it's going to be, the next GM, that he has to have Joe Judge. That's a terrible way of doing business.
Unless he has some sort of connection to Joe Judge from another place.
But you cannot tie your future to Joe Judge when you're not even all that certain about him to begin with.
Yeah, well, look, these are all the kind of machinations that all these teams are going through right now. I think the Bears are going through the same thing as the Giants are going through, and they're all trying to figure out who's the right guy. But at the end of the day,
actually, the Giants are the only team that are doing it this way. If you think about it, the Bears fired their GM and their coach. The Vikings fired their GM and their coach. The Dolphins just fired their coach. The Giants are the only one right now who have the coach that's still employed and the GM, doing a GM search. So, I mean, it's like they're the only ones that are doing it this way, which makes me think that they are waiting to see if this new GM wants to keep Joe Judge.
Well, the other thing, too, is as we see Anthony Lynn is on the list. So he was the former L.A. Charger head coach that was replaced by Brandon Staley. That was the offensive coordinator for the Detroit Lions this year. So he's also been fired. And the question that I would have is if they are keeping Joe Judge, is he going to be allowed to add to his coaching staff, or are they keeping the entire coaching staff? It's not really fair to the coaches either, to be honest with you. If you're going to move on from some coaches, you got to do it now. You got to give them a chance to get into the mix to try to get onto another staff somewhere else. And that's the thing. You don't want to have guys twisting in the wind. So Matt Nagy, Anthony Lynn, guys like Ryan Pace that have been fired down, Mike Zimmer, if they want to stay in, maybe as coordinator somewhere and maybe try to get another job in the next hiring cycle after this one, you got to give them a chance to go do that. And I think that's what at least that's what the Bears have done. That's what the Broncos have done. That's what the Vikings have done. And that's certainly what Miami has done. Now, I don't know if Miami is firing the coaching staff. I know they're firing the coach. I don't know if the entire staff is getting wiped out.
Yeah, but I mean, we hate the way that these things work in that manner, where you have somebody coming in who's supposed to be the leader, but then he's being told who he has to have on the staff. And we've talked about this a million different times.
That's the other thing I will say. In defense of Joe Judge, he was handed an offense coordinator that he probably didn't want. He was handed an offensive line coach that he didn't want. He has a quarterback that's been hurt. He's got offensive line that have been hurt. He's got wide receivers that have been hurt. There's been a lot of crap that has been out of his control when he was hired initially.
But isn't that some of that on him? I mean, I remember Matt Rule said he wasn't going to come to the Jets if he couldn't hire his own staff.
Well, I mean, these guys want these jobs.
I know, but
you would want the job.
But then you can't sit there, of course. But then you can't sit there and complain about not having your own staff when you agreed to that.
But I'm not saying he's complaining. I'm
fired the guy, and he publicly cut his balls off in front of everybody before
but I'm
he
just
fired
sitting
him.
here telling you would have done the same thing.
I don't think
it's a matter of survival in this. I'll tell you what, it is. It's the jungle. It really is. Well, and it's surviving and trying to stick. And, the thing about it is the Giants and the Bears are 2 legacy franchises. Mm-hmm. They're big-time franchises.
Sure.
And that's why if you get the job offer, you take it. I remember when Pat Shurmur was up for the Giant job, he also had a chance at the Arizona job. And I believe that Arizona offered him the job.
Really?
Yes. And they wanted an answer. They ended up moving on from him and went and got Steve Wilkes before Cliff Kingsbury. And I don't want to put words in Pat Shurmur's mouth. I don't want to do that. But I do believe that a guy like Pat Shurmur or any coach When they hear the Giants want you as a coach, everything that supersedes everything else because it's a legacy franchise.
Do you think that still holds with the 10 years of infutility?
Right. I do think that in the NFL, there are certain franchises that are looked at a certain way, like whether it be by their fan bases or by the people within the NFL itself. So I believe the Giants and the Bears are in that category of legacy franchises. If you could win there, man, look at what Tom Coughlin did here. When he got the job here and he won 2 Super Bowls, I mean, think about him. He never has to buy another drink or anything here in New York ever again. And he'll be beloved forever because of those Super
absolutely.
Bowls. And he'll be missed because of the failures of the team now. But I still think like Joe Judge, when you're offered a job like the Giants, especially when you're the special teams coordinator of the Patriots and you have been recommended to the Giants by Bill Belichick, how do you say no to that?
Yeah, the Giants are screwing this thing up no matter which way it goes. So if it goes in the one direction where they're going to hire a GM and then tell that GM that you have to have Joe Judge at least for one more year, then that is a thing that we don't like. We've on the record with that. We don't like a GM coming in and not being able to hire
I don't like that at
his
all.
own coach. And this is the other side of the coin. If they end up, which is also I think a way of screwing it up, is if they're waiting now to fire Joe Judge to see if the next GM wants to keep him or not, and they're leaving it up to him, then they're getting the hiring process started late, and they could end up with the second, third, fourth, fifth choice because every other team decided to make swifter actions to go out and get another head coach. So either direction that they go is one that I don't agree with. I mean, you're either going to get a new GM to hire the next head coach right away, because, I mean, you could be going out and talking to people now. I mean, how quickly could they hire a GM? Within days?
I mean, they would have to go through the process. They have to go through all the interview process. They have to go through the Rooney Rule at this level as well. So, the more people, if I'm the Giants, I want to interview like 8, 9, 10 people. I really do. I really do. I want to see if I can find the right guy that is going to meet what I would like to think are exorbitant expectations, because that's what you want. You want a guy that's going to be in here that's going to live up to exactly what the fan base wants. Now, you're going to hear about a lot of people you've never heard of from before, and we talked about this yesterday. And it's this may not excite the Giant fan, depending on what that track record is and where that person comes from, and whether or not he has been a part of some sort of success, which I would think is going to be the case, whether it be somebody from Buffalo, somebody from Tennessee. You think about those teams for a second and think about how successful those teams have been.
Yeah. Now, there's a couple of guys out there already that they've requested permission to talk to. One of them is someone that worked with Joe Judge that is on that list.
From Tennessee, right?
Yeah, Monty Ossenfort.
Right.
The Titans director of player personnel. Now, if they end up hiring him, that means to me that they're committed to Joe Judge.
Right. There's a guy for Indianapolis, Morocco Brown. I told you about Brandon Brown yesterday from Philadelphia. Mm-hmm. Again, these are all guys that are on the list that, the NFL furnishes to teams when they start looking for people like this. And, I don't think it's going to be a very quick process. I really don't.
So do you think, though, that they're going to tell the GM that Joe Judge is the coach, or they're going to tell the GM, you're the GM, you make the decision? Which ways? It's one or the other.
Yeah, that's speculation. I have no idea.
Well, it's one or the other, though. I mean, speculation.
Nobody has come out from the Giants at this point to say that Joe Judge is here. Joe Judge is just going about his business as if he's going to be here.
Well, that's what makes me think.
You haven't heard anything from any Giant brass or anything that says that he is still here and it is his job in 2022.
Yeah, John Mara very easily could have put out a statement yesterday or held a press conference that said Joe Judge is going to be our coach. We're going to make a GM search. That GM has to be willing to work with Joe Judge. He could have done that.
Yeah, but he didn't.
He didn't, which tells me
that they're still unsure about where they're going with the coach.
Well, also, they want to hire a GM first and get that person's opinion on it.
You remember, you also have two sets of owners here. You got the Tisch family, you got the Maras. I can't imagine that look, again, they have a great relationship. It's been a long time working relationship. They understand how the thing is structured and everything else. I would think that you would probably want to get some input from that side of the ownership as well. I would like to think that they all should be involved in trying to hire the right guy, because they all want the same thing. They all want the Giants to return to where they came from with Eli and Coughlin. They all want to get back to there.
Of course.
And so I would like to think you're asking everybody to be a part of it.
Yeah, and also the way that it's been done the last 10 years has been the worst in the NFL. So some new voices, some different things. That's why I think that finally it's gotten through their head that they need to go outside the organization to bring somebody in. It doesn't have to be a Giants lifer as your next general manager. I mean, everybody that they're interviewing outside of Kevin Abrams, which I don't know if he's a realistic candidate at this point or not, but everybody else, I mean, is people that are outside the organization have no ties to the Giants, which is a good thing.
Yeah, well, you'd like to think that, but the NFL is incestuous anyway. All these people know each other.
The Giants, the Giants. Everybody has to be a
they
Giant.
All go to these owners' meetings. They all know each other. They talk, and like the Bears now. The Bears have asked Bill Polian to help them find their next front office guy. I think it will be most likely the guy from Indianapolis, Morocco Brown.
Okay.
And that's just purely a guess. And I think that's who it's going to be, though. I wouldn't be surprised. They have one of the better rosters in the league. Mm-hmm. They've done a good job of acquiring a certain type of player. I'm sure that Morocco has learned a ton from Chris Ballard, who's their GM, and he would be like at the top of everybody's list because of where he's coming from.
So they call up Bill Polian, who, of course, was the GM for many, many years in the NFL and success and the Colts.
Just like Charlie Casserly, like Ernie Accorsi.
Yeah, but Casserly was the one who brought McCagnon and Bowles to the Jets. But if you go to Bill Polian and you say, we want help with the GM search, what's the negotiation there for him being a consultant?
I don't know. He probably makes $50,000 or $100,000, whatever.
$50,000, $100,000?
Whatever the consultant fee is.
Yeah, I'm curious, though.
I don't know what that is. I guess I could find out for you.
Find out. Find out how much you got paid.
I'll try to find out.
I'm Bill Polian, man. I've been retired. I'm old. I don't want to be doing this.
Yeah, he does.
I don't want to be doing this anymore.
Hey, man,
got to make it worth my while, man.
Like I have been told.
$500,000.
No, he wants to be in the mix.
Bill Polian wants to be in the mix?
Yeah, just like you want to be in the mix, just like I want to be in the mix. We're all in the mix.
Want to be in the mix?
We're all in the mix together. Al's in the mix. Eddie's in the mix.
If I'm Bill Polian,
this morning was in the mix.
He's absolutely in the mix.
We're all in the mix.
If I'm Bill Polian, I say $500,000. I'll give you my opinion.
Have you ever been told that, you're in the mix?
Have I ever been told that I'm in the mix?
In the mix, baby. Gotta have it.
Yeah, I suppose, yes.
Okay. I was just wondering.
Why?
I don't know.
Is there something I don't know?
No. There's nothing that you've done or anybody else has done. I was just wondering. Just thinking aloud, that's all.
Thank you for watching. Please like, comment, and subscribe. And don't forget to hit the red bell so you're notified when we have new content.